Hi, this is Wayne Rivers from the Family Business Institute. I want to talk to you about a book I've recently read, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, let me go ahead and give a disclaimer. Are you and I going to get down to a 4-hour work week? No, we're not. I'm not expecting you to do that. But what this book will do is it will challenge you to think. That's what it did for me. And it reminded me of a gentleman I met in Atlanta, 20 years ago or more. And I happened to be sitting at the bar waiting for a meeting to begin and struck up a conversation with the guy. And he had a really interesting viewpoint on life. Seems his wife had died a couple of years before, and he had either, I can't remember, 3 or 4 young children under the age of 10. And he didn't want to dump these kids into daycare. He wanted to be a real parent to these kids. And he had to be mom and dad. So he worked it out so that he took the kids to school, he fed them breakfast, he got them ready, got them off to school, picked them up from school in the afternoon, helped them with their homework, made dinner, got them their baths, got them ready for bed, and did the whole thing over again the next day. And he did this 5 days a week. Well, obviously, for a man who prides himself on working long hours, that meant he had to come up with a whole different way of looking at things as it related to his work. And so I was shocked, frankly. I said, well, when do you work? And he said, well, you know, I can work from about 9:30 or 9:45 until about 2:30 when I have to start picking up the kids from school. Now, the guy was really successful. He was a Merrill Lynch guy. I don't know if Merrill Lynch is still around or not, but he was a big wheel back then and made a lot of money. And he managed to get everything down to about 5 hours a day, everything he needed to do in his work, 5 days a week, sometimes less if the kids had days off from school and things like that. So at the most, he was working 25 hours a week, but his income had not suffered at all. His clients were just as happy as they ever were because he managed to eliminate things that didn't need to be done anymore or delegate everything that didn't strictly require him to do it. So before this book ever came out, this gentleman had already come up with, if you will, a way to work really effectively and productively in a very, very limited amount of time per week. Okay, so that's what this book advocates. What Ferriss calls it is lifestyle design. And I've always thought that people got into family businesses, either started them or joined them, because family businesses give you a little bit more freedom, if you will, to design the kind of lifestyle you want, whether it's making more money or working shorter hours or whatever. And many of us get caught on this trap, this treadmill of working more and more and more hours, and somehow it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can design your lifestyle. You can be the architect of exactly what your work week looks like. You just have to choose to do it. So there's 5 points I want to talk to you about from the book. The first is that, well, the timing isn't right. The timing isn't right for me to undertake lifestyle design and get down to 25 or 30 hours a week. Come on now. The timing's never been right for you to start a business, expand your business, contract your business, hire new people. The timing is never right. I remember hearing a story one time about this guy that pulls out of his driveway to go to work in the morning, and he just sits there. And his wife becomes very curious, so she walked out to the car and she said, honey, what's going on? And he said, well, I'm going to work, but I'm just waiting for all the lights to turn green along the way first. And obviously, if you wait for all the lights to turn green along the way, you're never going to get started. So put that objection out of your mind right away. It is not valid. The second point is that Ferriss makes a really interesting point. He says that being super busy is a form of laziness. Wow, that was really eye-opening. He said it's indicative of lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. You know, we're action-biased people. Go, 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 do it, do it, do it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're successful or that your busyness is paying off, because some of that busyness is indiscriminate. So what should you focus on then? The things you should be focusing on in your family business are the things that give you excitement, the things that attracted you to the family business in the first place, the things that you truly love and enjoy doing, the things that you're uniquely good at, the things that nobody else on the team can do nearly as well as you. Everything else needs to be eliminated. It needs to be delegated to people that have more talent in a given area than you do, more time to focus on things in a given area than you do, etc., etc. So back to one of our common themes in our blogs And that is, there are certain things that you need to stop doing. Only by stopping doing certain things can you create a better lifestyle for yourself and design the kind of not only business that you want, but life that you want. The third thing he talks about extensively in the book is your two biggest time sucks. Your biggest time suck used to be the telephone. Maybe it still is for some of you. Today's biggest time suck is email. We spend all day looking at that computer screen, and every time a new email pops up, we have to act on it immediately. And it often leads to, in effect, email chats. Well, that's not what email is all about. If you think it's just electronic mail, mail would come once a day, and you would handle it once a day, and then you would move on. Ferriss says that's what you should do with your emails too. Get your emails once a day, at the most twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, and deal with it. And guess what? You're not going to lose any productivity. You're not going to lose any customers as a result of it. And especially if you explain it to him and he gives you a template for doing that. He basically has you create an email handling system, which makes a lot of sense. He also says that when it comes to the telephone, not every telephone call is urgent. And what we should do is schedule our important telephone calls just like we would schedule a doctor appointment or something else. Okay, the fourth point, get an assistant. I can't believe, here it is, 2016, how many of our really successful clients don't have administrative assistants even now. I remember some brothers a few years ago, they had a terrific year in their company. It's a very successful company. And they had gotten paid, each of the brothers had gotten paid well over $1 million that year between their regular compensation and then distributions at the end of the year. And their dad was still around, not so much involved in the business anymore, but still around. And they mentioned to Dad that the brothers were going to hire one administrative assistant to split between them. Dad went berserk. He thought that was a crazy, extravagant expenditure of money. Just the guys had gotten all out of hand. He didn't know what to think. They were going to hell in a handbasket, and et cetera, et cetera. These guys made over $1 million a year. Please, they couldn't afford a $35,000 or $40,000 a year administrative assistant. That's idiocy. Thank goodness they went ahead and hired one. And guess what? Their productivity went up, and they were able to do a lot of things they weren't able to do before because they were consumed with correspondence and email and all that silly stuff. Get yourself an assistant. You can hire a virtual assistant today, by the way, that's based in India. So they're up and working when you're asleep. You give them assignments during the day, you go to bed. When you wake up in the morning, this virtual assistant has your paperwork done or your correspondence done or something like that. And you can get them for like $70 a week. $70 a week for a virtual assistant. Are you kidding me? There's no excuse for not having an assistant. The fifth thing he recommends is schedule your life first. Schedule your family time, your vacations, your weekend time, and schedule it with activity, something that produces memories, something that makes for beautiful pictures, both mental and physical. And the reason you do that is because if you don't, work is going to crowd out everything else. So schedule your vacation, schedule some exotic travel, schedule time with your wife and kids. Do all those things first, and there's always going to be plenty of time to do business, believe me. It works out much better to schedule your life first. So ultimately, another book that I read, which we'll review at another time, said that we need 3 things in life to be really happy. We need something to do, we need somebody to love, and we need something that gives us hope. And if you have those 3 things in your life, that's really all you need. 80-hour work weeks, we don't really need that. 100-hour work weeks, forget about it. You can get everything you need done in 40 hours if you just engage in a simple process of lifestyle design. I'd love to hear comments. These kinds of blogs are always controversial. So in the space below, let's have your comments. I'd love to respond. And thanks, Wayne Rivers from the Family Business Institute.